Okay, we're back. Sorry about that edit at the end of that last one. I had a few technical difficulties and I just thought I'd upload it, and we'll pick it up here in episode 4. Okay, so steaming. I was going to show you an easier way to steam the timber rather than building a steamer like I did earlier. Okay, so what we've got a nice flat piece of timber and a towel, a wet towel. I've wet that towel down and I've wrung most of the water, got most of the water out of it. Didn't wring its neck, but it's just damp. So I've got my board over here with 2 pieces on it, which I'll use as we'll do these 2. And the other thing you're going to need is an iron. Now there's all sorts of irons around. This is an old one that I had, and it's actually got steam. It can do steaming, so when you got it up on its side, you push a button here and hopefully steam comes out. But I think it's hang on. There we go. So the steam comes out. You can see that? Okay. So we got that iron. I set it to the hottest setting. This one's got a little fancy thing. You push a button here and a bit of water comes out the front. Keep it wet. But what you can use also is I just got a bottle of water, with a bit of water in it. Keep it moist. Okay, so we'll grab the piece of timber. Now this is the nose. I've turned that board around, by the way, so when we were doing it before, it had the tail at the front, so I've turned it around. So we'll slip a piece of timber in here, just fold it back. Put him in like that, in the wet towel. Wetting it up a bit. Get a bit of moisture into it, and we'll get the iron. And we'll go over with the iron. Look at that steam coming off. It's actually quite surprising how much the timber burns when you steam it. Obviously it's an old technique and there's probably a lot of good experts out there. Anyway, I'm new to the world of steaming. But yeah, I did a little test on this earlier and it worked quite well. So it saves you setting up that steamer and heating up all that water, using up all that gas to get the water hot, and a lot safer too. So what I did was just get that into there like that, and I'll give it a bit of, unfold it a bit, give it a bit of water. Obviously we're going to let this timber dry out before we stick it down. Doesn't take long to dry out. It's only quite thin. So you get a bit of heat into it like that. Don't really need to give it the old shot of steam with the button because there's plenty of moisture in there. So I'm just doing the nose section first. We'll just have a look and see how that's come up. And then I just, like you can feel it, it's real wobbly. And you just bend it over a bit. Try not to get any flat spots. I found if you hold it right down the end of the timber and bend it, so it's obviously a lot hotter here than what it was on the end, so it's sort of bent. You can see it's bent up already. Turn that around there. There's a bit of a corner there. You don't really want that if you can get around that. And then the other thing you can do is just put a bit of shot of steam on it there like that. Get a bit of heat into it. Takes a little bit of time, but hey, we're building a wood wrap. So you can get a bit of curve going. It's obviously really soft there. It's probably a bit of a soft piece of the timber there, or I've put a bit too much. It's actually a bit thinner there where it's been when I've cut it. A little bit thinner than the rest of it, but it should be okay. you just give it a bit of a curve. So you can see there's a bit of a curve. It's not perfect, a perfect curve. And that's what I mean before, earlier when we talked about using the UPS foam with no stringer inside it, without to give it any stiffness. You've got to be really careful when you're bending this timber, otherwise it sort of follows the shape of the wood. And you can see there's a bit of a flat spot there at the front. So I've been cutting these strips a little bit longer, so I've got something to bend it. You put your thumb pressure on there and it usually bends on that point. But if you just give it a bit of a curve like that, and then I'll just bring it over here and you can see it sits down heaps better. There's no tension. The timber's lost its, there's not as much tension in the timber as what there was before. It's sort of running to the curve. The tail's quite, the tail obviously doesn't have as much lift in it as what the nose does. So the nose is probably more important. I wouldn't mind getting a little bit more curve into that front bit there and just get it to sit down a bit. But you can see the difference between this, that one there, it's sort of sitting down flat. The other thing I was talking about before is I was using a round piece of dowel, 6mm dowel. I'm going to give that a go. I'll give that a bit of a steam because it's quite stiff. And, the reason I do that is because, you have the round piece in the middle and then the two coves lock together. And then, as I was saying before, it's easy to put the glue down inside the cove and then you can stick it together. But it's nice if you've got a piece of fancy timber, a darker colour piece of timber, and you get it machined up. Or you might be able to get a darker colour piece of dowel. I couldn't find anyone. I just got this from the hardware shop. So I'll stick that in there and we'll see how this works because I've never done this. It's obviously a different type of timber, probably pine or something like that. Not quite sure. Anyway, I'll get a bit of heat into it. See if we can get it to bend. See how we go. Ooh, not too much. Certainly doesn't have the flexibility as what the Paulownia does. And you just sort of stand here for a bit. Oh, it's actually got a little split in there, but it should be okay, I think. You can see there it's starting to come out. Not great. Maybe I need a bit more moisture in there. Because the dowel's got the grain runs down along it through, I've sort of got a little bit of a split there. I don't know if you can see. You might be able to see that. Might be a bit dark, but just there it started to split a bit. So you've got to be pretty careful. Hopefully I'll be able to get around that. Maybe this mightn't work, but I might just give it a bit more heat, a bit more moisture. I'll bring it over here. Give it a bit more. It works pretty good with the Paulownia, this system, but obviously not so great with this other type of timber. Like I said, I wouldn't know what it is. Maybe I need to give it a bit more heat. Might actually have to spend a little bit more time on this centrepiece. But you generally get the idea of what I'm doing. Like the nose is the most important piece. So we can get that to bend over. And as it cools, it should hold, its shape. And it'll always spring back a little bit. So if you bend it a bit more than what you actually need. So it's starting to get a little bit there, but I don't think it's quite enough. But it might be okay. There's not as much tension there now. It's only right here on the end. Probably need to give it a bit more steaming. But anyway, you get the idea of what I'm doing. That works quite well, I reckon. So, and the other thing is, On the bottom here, I'm using, they're probably 30 mil strips, maybe a bit more, maybe 40 millimeters, like, what's that? A bit under 2 inches, inch and a half or something. But on the deck, because the deck's rounded, I'll use skinnier strips. There's a couple down there I've cut, couple down there. But yeah, so I'll use the skinnier ones so they can go over the rails, because you know the deck's got more curve in it, whereas the bottom's a lot flatter. So I'll keep going on those, and I'll glue a couple on. And the other thing is I've been doing, like, I'll do those 2 strips on the deck, on the bottom, sorry, and then I'll flip it over and then steam up these other 2. I'll steam a whole bunch. Well, now I've got it all set up, and then I'll glue the top ones on. And once you put a couple, you know, one on the bottom and one on the deck, it stiffens. They stiffen up, and you know there's a bit more resistance for the blank to bend. But it's not major. You just got to be careful of it. Otherwise, you'll flatten your rocker out a little bit. All right. Well, we'll catch up in the next episode. While I've got you here, you know, obviously I'm trying to get a bit of a following going. It doesn't really worry me one way or the other, but if you want to subscribe and share these videos, you know, that'd be great. The button's down there somewhere, I think. But yeah. If it goes all right, I was thinking about maybe doing a series of these episodes on doing a chambered board. But you know, if it doesn't, you know, I'm not going to get views. And no one's, you know, not many people interested. I probably won't worry about it. But anyway, we'll see how we go, eh? Okay, we'll catch you next episode.